As we celebrate Women's Month here in South Africa, we're taking a Pan-African outlook now, and we're going into the private equity space, looking at women in this very specialized field of finance and investment banking, some would argue. Joining us now from Lagos is Ngozi Edozien, who's head of private equity for Actis in West Africa. Ngozi, thanks so much for your time. Women in private equity. That's actually a topic of discussion in many fora at the moment, is what role do women play within these investment vehicles?
Well, I think that it's, you can look at that on a couple of levels. I mean, firstly is women within the private equity space, working in private equity firms. I think you will find quite a number of us, because I think the work that we do in some ways is very uniquely aligned to interests that we have, because the work that we do has a bit of operational experience, it has a bit of investment experience, and it certainly has strategy. And so as you begin to look at the pipeline of women coming into private equity, you will find that you do have people that have come from investment banking, from operational fields, but also, quite frankly, from consulting. So I look at it and I say that the more there are women in the pipeline who come into the workforce in those areas, the more you will have women in private equity. And certainly if you look at those, the major private equity players operating even in Nigeria at present, and on the continent, I can certainly think about 4 of the companies who have women at very, very senior levels in their firms. I think the second part of your question is going towards actually perhaps the businesses that we invest in. Is that correct?
Not yet. I want to find out, you know, obviously finance is a specialized skill. You all have degrees in accounting, business science and the like, and it's generally perceived that not a lot of women are churned out of this particular industry. Certainly when you look at women who lead listed entities across the world, this is the one area that's not changing. The boardroom is not changing fast enough. Where do you acquire the skills in terms of having women participating in private equity?
Well, I think, as I said, it comes down to the pipeline. Generally, you know, if you talk about the skills that we do require, financial analysis, accounting skills, you're actually finding that there are very, very many women who are beginning to go into those fields, particularly in the generation that is below myself. So if you look at the US business schools, if you look at the international business schools, if you look at those who are studying accounting degrees and going into finance, you're going to find a significant proportion that are women. And I think the issue, as I mentioned earlier, is about the pipeline. And I think further down the line, we are going to see quite a number. But certainly, if I look at my firm, we do have quite a number of women in the firm, particularly at one level below mine. And so I would expect that we're going to actually see quite a number coming through. In Nigeria myself, as I said earlier, if I think about some of our competitors, certainly there are 3 of us here who are actually leading the private equity investing for our firms in West Africa.
Let's talk about the businesses in which you invest, because some would say, as women, you should have a bias towards female industries, maybe hospitality, media and broadcasting. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. But others would say all business sectors need investment. We need FDI in Africa, and it doesn't really matter where it's going. How do you approach it?
Well, listen, I think to make a good private equity investment, it's about the business. It's not necessarily about the gender of the people who are actually running the business or who may have founded the business. And we tend to look for businesses that are in high growth sectors, businesses that are fundamentally on a growth wave in consumer industries or other types of sectors that are important in emerging markets, business services, certain industrial areas, and certainly within financial services. So we look first at the fundamentals of the business. And that can include, indeed, the management. And if it so happens that the management of that business is female-based and they are very good at their work, then that becomes a benefit as well. But private equity is not about gender. It's about the quality of the business and the type of risk and the returns that you expect to actually get in investing in that business. I think, though, having said that, we do find that we do support in many ways businesses that are actually driven by women's spending power, because I think one of the biggest areas for investment going forward is indeed the consumer sector.
Absolutely.
And if you look at any country in the world, about 70 to 80% of the decisions of how finances are spent in the home and in consumer businesses are actually driven by women.
Okay.
So health and personal care products, food and beverage sector, these are women-driven decision businesses in some respects, and the brands and the companies in many ways cater to these women.
All right, we have to leave it there, unfortunately. Ngozi, thanks so much for your time. She's the head of Actis in West Africa.